is mass-produced clothing that intends to keep up with changing fashion styles on social media. However, what is the true cost of this fast fashion industry? We often ignore the ethical and environmental consequences of buying cheap clothing. In today's Teen Talk episode, we'll explore the narratives surrounding both fast fashion and thrifting. Teen Talk is a project of Tri-City Collective. It's a series of curated conversations on issues important to teens. I'm Harini, and I'll be your host for today's Teen Talk panel. I'm a senior, and I enjoy both thrifting and shopping fast fashion online. Our panelists today are Tori, Nevaeh, and Sam. Tori is a senior who enjoys thrifting and supporting local clothing businesses. Nevaeh is a sophomore who's really into Y2K fashion, and Sam is a senior who enjoys both thrifting and fast fashion. So to get us all started, what do you guys consider as fast fashion?
I think fast fashion is quick, easy, cheap, obviously, and it's something that comes in mass production and is a sense of style that everybody has, I guess, and it only lasts for a certain period of time.
Do you feel like teens are aware of the ethical and environmental concerns surrounding fast fashion?
I feel that teens are often, whenever you think of environment, it's often their own environment. It's very much individualistic. And the fact of teens are just thinking about what makes them happy and what makes them be able to get through whatever they're getting through. High school can be hard. Being a teen can be hard. And so just simply getting a top that's really fast and easy for a party to make you feel yourself, to make yourself feel better, and things like that. It's just simply more of the pleasure, It's often some people's form of coping. I know it's sometimes my form of coping. I love fashion, but that's besides the point. I think whenever teens think about the environment and everything, it's more necessarily of their gas emissions or things that are of a larger scale and comparative to what their own little things of simply what's in their shopping cart.
Do you feel like individual teens feel as though their contributions to this issue aren't as significant as the industry as a whole?
I feel like everybody kind of worry about themselves, so it's kind of what I'm doing won't really contribute as much, and then once everybody starts thinking that way, it causes a big problem, which gets us to where we are now.
Yeah, adding on to what she said, I feel like teenagers don't really overthink what they do because they're young, so it's just it'll pass, So.
Absolutely. And right now, a huge TikTok trend is this haul culture where influencers post buying 20 or 30 clothes all at one time and what they got in their haul. And how has this sort of haul culture impacted your personal style, Nevaeh?
Honestly, how it's impacted me, I kind of to be honest, I don't think it impacted me that much because when I see it, it's just oh, whatever. Or I've seen some influencers be there's a link in my bio, you can get it for free or something like that. I feel that's kind of a lie most of the time because you'll still have to pay for most of it. So yeah, that's another thing with that.
And that's actually a really good marketing tactic that I feel that even I fall I'm susceptible to, of the fact of they'll overprice and then place a discount so it looks underpriced.
Yeah.
And so it's for example, the beautiful your beautiful jewelry that I have on right now.
Yeah.
You could post a video and be you should buy this $45 pair of earrings at 50% off, so it's only $25, but in reality the cost to make it's $1. And so it's things like that is really not only is the process of fast fashion fast, but so is the marketing. It's very fast in your face and very much of a snap of your fingers, and all of a sudden, oh no, I mysteriously bought 25 items on Shein.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And do you feel like this illusion of a sale is sort of introducing more people to fast fashion because it seems so much cheaper? Like, I mean, it's 90% off.
I will say yes, because like TikTok has the whole TikTok shop everybody knows, and they have like so many sales once everybody starts promoting it. And then like I've watched on YouTube people like compare the TikTok shop to like Amazon, and it'd be like the same exact product at different costs, and it's like the TikTok shop is cheaper, but like the shipping is way more. And so it kind of just depends on like where you get it from, but I think marketing is a really big thing because it's like it makes it seem so much cheaper, and then when you put it in your cart it's like $7 for shipping.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And do you feel like overconsumption is contributing to the root cause of this issue? Is it a fear of missing out that's leading us to buy more and more fast fashion?
Honestly, I think yeah. For a lot of people, especially in schools, like I feel like if you see someone dressed this way, I feel like you'd be like, oh, I want to dress like that so I can be more known. Or yeah.
I think I agree with what you were saying. A lot of people I find more of like, instead of getting one good dress, right? So let's say for instance, I have a formal, a birthday party, and then I have a dinner with like some like people who are important. And often, you know, a couple years ago, people would just buy one good black dress and they'll wear it to everything. They'll wear it until it's worn, and you could maybe even pass it down. I mean, I have my mom's iconic black dress. And so, but now with like social media and everything and people focusing more on clothing, it's like, oh, well, I don't want to be an outfit repeater. And so now it's more of like, well, I need to dress for this formal, I need to dress for this formal, I need to dress specifically for this birthday party, I need to fit the theme, and it's things like that. So I feel like the overconsumption is not only like on us, but it's also like on trying to like fit in and conform into whatever. And it's also just the like etiquette and like social rules are such a thing, kind of like, you know, social rule, you don't wear white to a wedding. So like the social rule of, well, you don't want to wear the exact same outfit to every single birthday party because it seems like you don't care. And so that kind of like, since teens, you know, we are blessed with just having to focus on little things such as what I'm going to wear to a birthday party, but that often like consumes.
Because so much of our lives are documented on social media, does it make it more difficult to sort of like plan your outfits because it's like, oh, I wore this at this occasion, but now I can't wear this again. Guess I have to go get on Shein.
Yeah, I feel like why people will like just get more and more outfits for different how do I explain it?
Occasions.
Yeah, occasions. It's because they feel like someone will judge them and be like, why are you wearing that again, you know? So, or they'll think that they're poor or something like that. So
I think, yeah, on the social media aspect of it, a lot of people think that people actually pay attention to like what they rewear, which I don't think anybody really does. Like, I don't think nobody keeps tallies of like how many times you wear this article of clothing, which is also why, oh, I have to get this many things so I can make different outfits. I don't have to repeat an outfit to school. And that also has to do with like a lot of people trying to like compare senses of styles and like have like the same sense of style of other people, because they think like if you're wearing this type of clothes, they probably wouldn't care if you wear it more than once.
And I mean, I'm gonna be so honest, before I came here I was gonna wear black boots with this outfit, but then I was like, wait, if it gets posted on social media, I just made an Instagram post with those same black boots. And that happened to me like a couple hours ago, despite the fact of you guys don't see me every day. I don't know why my black boots matter that much, but it is definitely like, it's not only just like in social media or whatever, it's just like ingrained, it's like routine at this point. And so even for a simple talk with people who I am so happy to know better now, but I had no idea before, I was concerned about my black boots. And so I feel that that's like coming more and more into like fruition with people. And I also think on like that, I like that what you were saying, bringing the conversation back earlier about like things like with TikTok shop and everything, and just the fact of like like prom, for instance, there's like a certain style of dress that's really popular, and then people all want that dress, and then they'll shame other people for this type of style, and so you'll avoid that type of style, and it's just a certain thing of like just constantly trying to please.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the time, clothing can have sentimental value. So I want to pose a fun question. What's your favorite article of clothing and why?
I really like jeans, you know, because I have like a lot of pairs of them. So yeah, I think that's definitely my favorite article of it.
I'd say sweats and leggings. They're quick, comfortable.
I'd say my big oversized band t-shirts, and no, I cannot name 3 songs from that album that is on me. I'm so sorry. I've had a lot of embarrassing moments with that, but that's okay, you know, live, laugh, love. But I love big oversized band t-shirts.
Yeah, I just love cropped orange sweaters. It's such a fall vibe that I love to sort of emulate.
Very Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
Love the color choice. Very specific.
But yeah, thrifting has sort of emerged as a new alternative to fast fashion since we can go and buy clothes secondhand for cheaper prices and still feel like we're consuming a lot of clothes, and it feels like our closets are still full without supporting the environmental and ethical consequences of fast fashion. However, it's important to acknowledge that the choice to choose between thrifting and fast fashion is often a privilege. And do you feel like some of the criticism surrounding fast fashion doesn't always acknowledge this reality?
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of just focus on like what they want or like what's popular at the time and don't really think about like what their stores are there for, because a lot of people they can't buy things online, and a lot of people can't just like go here buy like a $50 shirt or whatever, which is their stores are for people who need clothes. Like even there's stores for people who need stuff for like interviews and stuff, so there's stuff like that. But it's these people that need clothes that can't go to the stores that other people have the privilege to go to pay for them, and the price is just going up, so it makes it a lot harder for those people also.
And I think like yes and no. I mean, it's a privilege that all of us can somewhat contribute to the conversation from both perspectives, right? Of the perspective of thrifting and then shopping in the mall. That in itself, and you know, I just think like, you know, privilege is privilege. Whether or not we're privileged to go to have a proper education, we're privileged to have clothes and to be able to afford to have an identity with it and to express ourselves. And that it's not necessarily just a necessity. And I think I really like your wording there of like people need the clothes and people want to go. Like the difference between a need and a want. And so I think that with this whole like from thrifting from an outside perspective, it's really hard to kind of rein it in. But reining into the fact of like this is about what's sustainable for the future and everything, and not necessarily what we want. And so, and whenever bringing up thrifting stores, I feel like a lot of people kind of romanticize it. I mean, I romanticize so many things. I mean, it's, you know, sometimes you just gotta, but like romanticize thrifting, but they kind of dismiss the fact that, you know, this is people's way of surviving.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to go get a cute black shirt because they want to go and have brunch with the ladies. They just want to go get a cute black shirt because they need it for their job. And so I feel like that's kind of like a perspective that is often like just dismissed because who cares? Like, I just want to go get a cute outfit.
Yeah. And as thrifting becomes more mainstream, what are some of the consequences that you've seen? Have prices gone up? Have thrift stores started like marketing themselves differently as a result?
Yeah, honestly, I think the prices have really gone up because like people have made it so popular, like thrift stores, you know? So I feel like that's kind of made it harder for people who actually needed clothes from thrift stores because they can't really afford it that much. Because like thrift stores used to, like their clothes used to be like maybe like at most like $5. Now it's like $20 for like one shirt. So yeah.
I'll say, like, I've seen, like, Uptown Cheapskates, they take certain clothes now. So it's like, if they're not from this few, like, sort of brands, then we won't take it. Or if it's not in style as of, like, this certain timeline, we won't take it. And then also, connecting to that, like, the prices have gone up a lot more than they did before.
Also, I am an avid thrifter in all of those avenues, and I've shopped at like stores like Uptown Cheapskate before. And I will be totally honest, like you are very right in the fact that prices have gone up. In the fact of like, okay, so I got these jeans, super cutie, I love them. They're American Eagle. I got them for $10. I went in the other day, and I kid you not, I saw the exact same pair of jeans, and I was like, oh shoot, might cop it. Like it's purple and it's cute. It was double the price because of just the fact that, you know, it's becoming more popular and it's becoming more of like, instead of like the difference in not only like diction in talking to people about their stores, but also like tone, right? So instead of people going like, oh, you thrifted that, it's like, oh, you thrifted that? And so it's kind of like the whole demeanor around it has changed. And so I think that also is why people are like, okay, so maybe I can profit off of my little thrift store.
Yeah, absolutely. And in response to the popularity of thrifting, many of these fast fashion companies are trying to market themselves differently as well, trying to promote their labor practices in a more sustainable light and also their environmental concerns. And do you feel like these companies are trying to make themselves seem more sustainable in the advertisements that you've encountered?
I think, yes, like, there's a lot of places that, like, even Temu, they came out with, like, commercials during, like, the Super Bowl and stuff, and it's kind of trying to advertise themselves as, like, a better for, like, the environment and the world, and, like, their, like, greenhouse gases, like, they don't contribute to that. And a lot of people don't understand that it's just the act, pretty much. Like, it's false advertisement. And then once you actually buy those clothes, then you start to hear more about the bad or the harm that they're actually doing.
I think it's just kind of like a cycle. And it's kind of the same thing of like companies, like, for example, there was like a big cancellation for a lot of shampoo companies for the fact of like, oh, well, your guys' whole container is all plastic. And so now, if you notice in a lot of like Pantene and like other like women's products, it's like, oh, 25% recycled plastic or 15% recycled plastic. Well, I'm still throwing it in this recycling bin at the end of the day. And so, or even in the trash. And so, and does that, like, yes, small steps are important, but those small steps are just a cover up for their bigger steps they're taking, retracting back and making more like the fact of like the palm oil industry and everything and how much it's destroying a lot of rainforest. I mean, that's just the fact to cover it up of like, yes, I'm taking 25% of this land, but you have 25% recycled plastic in your bottle. So doesn't that make you feel good? And so I think it's kind of like now they're catering more not to like, we don't care how you feel, we're going to recycle because we want to be inclusive, just more of like, we do care about how you feel. So here's something that's going to make you feel better so you keep on buying our product.
Another thing about that, I feel like a lot of sites will like kind of scam you in a way. Like, especially I heard like things about Temu too, where if you buy something, they'll just take your money and never give you like what you paid for. So like I feel like some websites will be like, oh, you can get this and stuff like that, but they never really give it to you because they're scamming you. So
yeah, absolutely. And do you feel like algorithms are trying to personalize the fashion that's advertised to you on these social media platforms as well?
I think like for sure, you know, it's a blessing to have such a diverse amount of people here talking about a topic, but we are diverse and we both have different interests and different things that we enjoy, different textures that we like. And so, I mean, my For You page is going to look very different from your For You page, which thank goodness nobody wants to look at my For You page. But I think that, you know, like you can advertise things to different people, but the exact same thing, right? So like, for instance, like if I were more materialistic and I was trying to sell you this water right in front of you, for you, I'd be like, well, you need this for rainy. You really, really need this water because it complements this glass. It really complements your outfit. So I think you should buy this water from me because it really complements your outfit. And then for you, I'm still advertising the water the same way, but I'd be like, it kind of matches your nails. Like it's glossy. So it's kind of like that exact kind of mindset is still in like algorithms and everything. Mm-hmm. So all of us are marketed the same exact cheap black top from Temu, but it's all in different ways. And so I feel like that's where they're kind of like, just like we're becoming smarter and recognizing it, they're becoming smarter and recognizing and trying to change their ways to still keep us in the loop of fast fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. And another important thing to acknowledge is that fast fashion tends to be more size inclusive than thrifting. And what are your views on that?
I think sometimes it kind of depends on which site you're talking about, because there's a lot of sites that are size inclusive and then there's some that aren't, because in our society and world now, there's like a certain range of sizes you should be in or that they think is like right to be seen for like anything actually. So like sometimes in thrift stores, it can be size inclusive just because there's multiple people that probably wear the same size as you that are also giving back because they probably don't wear this or they've had this since like the early 2000s and they don't really need it anymore.
And like about like what you're saying, like some I think of like Brandy Melville, for example. And like that's a really popular fast fashion store, but I mean their whole premise is one size fits all. But I feel like honestly it's one size fits one because I swear I could see a toddler wearing that outfit, but to each their own. But I do think that perspective is really, really nice to hear. I mean, I'm a size 10. I'm a size 8 or 10, a medium or large. And I'm blessed where I can go to thrift stores in which they have enough selection for me. But like, imagine a person who doesn't have that and a person who doesn't have that advantage because, if they're having to get fast fashion, they probably also have to get fast food because that's affordable too, right? And that's just like a never-ending cycle. And so that's a really good way to look at it is the fact of like no matter what, there's still going to be a lack of inclusivity in that end, and sustainability just is not sustainable for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you feel that fast fashion is perceived as a more like trivial purchase than something that's more like conventionally masculine, like video games or sports gear, since the target audience that these retailers are looking towards is women?
I think there is a big difference in like the amount of sales, but also like even including men in like fast fashion, like you have the stacked jeans and like they're starting to wear tighter jeans, and I've seen a lot of dudes with like cropped hoodies and stuff. So I feel like it's kind of towards like both genders or like whatever you prefer to say. And I feel like it is mostly towards women, but a lot of people have veered off into like different senses of style, so it kind of goes for everybody.
Absolutely. And what are some steps that teens can take to ensure that their wardrobe can be just a little bit more sustainable?
I like to think of this thing that my mom made for me, right? And all credit to the beautiful person that my mother is. But she has a little thing that I was taught when I was itty bitty, but it's you gain and you lose. So I get a new top and I take out the old one and I can donate it, give it away, or things like Uptown Cheapskate where you can exchange it, get store credit. And so that's like a simple, small step. I mean, you're going to the place anyway, and so might as well, maybe even make some extra cash. I mean, we know the economy that we live in today. And so, exchange your clothes or donate your clothes. And, you want to be a part of fast fashion. I mean, obviously try to do it in a way in which is going to give you more quality over quantity, but that can't always be promised. But keep your wardrobe fast then. you know, rotate things that you don't want anymore or don't fit you anymore and give those away. And that's like a simple thing that can just be not only implemented to give you the sustainability of like, oh, I have a fresh look, I have a fresh everything, but also not overconsume and get into that mindset of like, I need to have everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Nevaeh, Samantha, any thoughts?
Honestly, I think what she said was enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see. I love clothes, and I think a lot of the problem is like it's kind of coping mechanism, and so it's just like when you feel a certain type of way, oh, I have to buy some more clothes. That'll make me feel better because I'm getting something new. Everybody likes presents, right? So I like seeing new stuff come in the mail every day.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like a thing. But I have also learned how to like look through my closet and kind of be like, I don't really wear this, so I don't need to see it in my closet every day if I'm not gonna wear it. I'll hand it down, give it to my sister, or like resell it or something like that. But yeah, just like going through your clothes and just being able to like understand yourself that you don't need something that you have is one way to start.
That mental health aspect that you brought up is really good. I mean, teens today, we have some of the highest mental health risk rates, you know, and it's coping mechanisms are hard. And I'll be like personal here, like I like went through therapy for 3 years for some of my diagnosis, but you know, that like equivalent can also be found in fashion, you know, in a way of expressing yourself, in a way of trying to make yourself feel better. And there is, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of studies that I know you brought up earlier, like people explaining that like they get the exact same like dopamine rush whenever they click checkout, and they get that kind of like opening the box and getting something new and special that they do with other things. And so, I mean, teens are having a hard time, not only just in general, but mentally as well. And so it's hard to tell somebody to take away something that makes them happy and that helps them cope, to think about it in an outward perspective and not about themselves. And to think about it of like, you can still do this thing, but try and do it more sustainably, because that's not always accessible. I mean, I acknowledge the privilege I have to even suggest the idea that I've had.
Yeah, absolutely. And does it feel sometimes as though like clothing is sort of a way to fit into some of these like cliches and narratives of people who have a certain aesthetic?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like if you dress a certain way, that will make you go into a certain friend group. Like at my school, if you like dress a certain way, then you're weird, you know, like they just, you automatically go into like a weird group, you know, or like you're seen as weird just because you have like a certain style. So yeah.
That reminds me of like, have you ever seen the like real life version of Cheetah Girls? Or not Cheetah Girls, what is it, Bratz?
Yes.
They're Bratz movie.
Yeah.
So like this group of girls, like they all have like this diverse style, and they get to high school and they have like seating charts for like the whole courtyard, and it's like the jocks are over here, like the nerds are over here, the cheerleaders are over here. That's kind of like how it is now. And so it's like if you dress a certain type of way, you're put in a certain category or group, or like they think of you as a certain way. So I feel like that connects to what you're trying to say too. It's like if you don't fit in with everybody else, you're automatically going to be like kicked out.
Yeah. And also, like, adding on to what you say, I mean, like, all of us right here dress very differently. Like, you know, and before, from a face-to-face value, I mean, like, at the end of the day, no matter how much you say that you're not a shallow person, the first thing you notice about somebody is their looks and what they look like and whether or not that's appealing to you, right? And so, like, I feel like it's like an honest answer kind of being like that. If we weren't placed in a certain room all together, we wouldn't immediately go talk to each other. I mean, I will say POCs. I love the group of women of color, but it doesn't, you know, like from a fashion sense and everything, like my style is a lot more dark, contrary to, I feel like, my personality. And so a lot of people wouldn't come up to me thinking of like, oh, she's so bubbly. It's more of like, oh, you know, that's a lot of black we got going on there, but you go, girl. And so I do really account for that fact of like, you know, that style does really express identity, because there's not a lot of things that you can do to express yourself necessarily. There's not a lot of things that you can control, but the one thing you can control is how you look.
And do you feel as though like people in friend groups tend to dress similarly? Like when we've seen the Stanley pleated skirt, Lululemon top aesthetic. Like it feels like if you see someone that's wearing that, like all of their friends also look like that as well.
I kind of like that's sometimes thing. I feel like in some groups I've seen like they like all look different, but like they get along. So it's like kind of confusing sometimes to me. Like I was saying before, how like if you saw someone like sometimes automatically you would be like, oh, they're weird, they have to be here or something like that. But like I feel like some people see it different, you know. So I have seen diverse friend groups. So
It's kind of like that opposite of attracts aspect. Like, I know I definitely don't dress like my best friend, but it's okay. So I feel like there are some certain type of groups that are like they want to be the same person, which is why they dress the same way. And I've seen that a lot. But then also there's certain groups that are like they allow you to express yourself and be yourself without being judged because you don't think the same way that they do.
And to go on what you guys were saying about was like, you know, this is, I feel like in the safe space right here, and that I can dress how I want to, but, you know, not everybody's going to be as welcoming. And so coming from like my own personal experience would be in the program that I was in, I didn't feel, you know, bringing it back to like the person of color things, you know, I was the only brown girl on the team. And so in trying to fit in, not only knowing the fact that I am already starting off the gate with the difference of people, you know, I very much had a phase in which I deferred from what I wanted to wear. I was one of those girls who wore the Lululemon tank top and those shorts that we all know did not look right. That's okay. You know, we all grow and we learn. But I think that that's like definitely a good part of like fast fashion is like, are you doing it simply because you yourself like this piece, or because other people around you like that piece and you just want to have some grasp of fitting in? And so I think it's like also the environment of the fact that, you know, nobody should feel required to do that. But that environment made me feel required that I had to change subtle things slowly but surely.
Absolutely. So this is kind of a completely different lens, but moving on to thrifting, what are some tips that you guys have when thrifting to thrift more effectively, both in terms of sustainable fashion, but also thrifting to sort of encapsulate your personal style?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not that sure because I don't thrift that much. But yeah, they might.
Normally, I go to like what color catches my eye, because there's some pieces, it's like, you know, them like off colors that look like it's been worn a while. I'm like, I'm gonna stay away from that. But then if I see like a color or like a certain group of colors that I like, I'm going to go to that piece. Or like a certain type of pants that I like. Cause like I found this skirt and it was like light pink and it had black trims around it or whatever. And I went to that. I was lucky enough to fit it, but like that's kind of how I go. Like if I walk around, I see something that catches my eye, I'm probably gonna go to that certain piece.
I say to like thrift with balance, and remember that your closet is kind of like, you know, the food groups that we were taught ever since we were little itty bitty. And so I still have beef with that plate. But that like kind of like, you know, you need a little bit of this, you need a little bit of that. So my number one tip is always come in there thinking of not exactly like what outfit can I create here, but what outfits can I create with my closet already. And so for instance, like I went thrifting yesterday, and if I were to tell you the individual items, you'd be like, girl, that is not it. Like we need to rethink. We need to like come back to it. Maybe step back, look at the bigger picture. But like all those items I know will work with multiple other things that I already have. And so I think that's like a good tip. And also go to thrift stores that fit your style. I know you brought up earlier a thrift store that's more streetwear. And so that if you're more into streetwear, look for more thrift stores that like they cater to, like, they want more vendors who are kind of in that perspective. Or if you're more like, I want something light and dainty, then go to like a thrift store that has like closer like to boutiques and has a lot more florals going around. And I mean, just like how other stores like PacSun or H&M kind of have their own aesthetic or style, so do thrift stores.
Yeah, absolutely. So in conclusion, we learned that both thrifting and fast fashion have their pros and cons, and teens can benefit from learning more about why they're buying certain pieces of clothing and understanding that you don't necessarily have to fit a certain aesthetic to fit into a certain cliche.
Sums it up.
So, yeah.